Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grays. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. Today I have several projects finished for y'all and we're using Sweet Pickins milk paint. I just love creating aged, vintage inspired pieces with my thrifted finds, and I just love the authenticness I guess you can receive using milk paint. But either way, I love how all the projects turned out today. If you are interested in purchasing some milk paint, you can find my website linked down in the description box. And let's go ahead and get started with today's projects. Our first thrift flip makeover in today's video is this gorgeous solid wood desk. I picked this up at like a resale store for around $20. That hardware had to go, so I removed them and filled those holes with 2-part Bondo. Bondo dries very quick, and I can come in with a 120 grit sandpaper and sand that Bondo flush. And I'm going to go ahead and give the rest of the desk a good scuff sand as well. Now let's add some new hardware. I'm going to take a drill bit, and I've already measured this drawer where I want to put my new hole. So I'm going to pre-drill that hole on both sides, and I'm just going to go with this single wooden knob. It's just something I had in my stash. I'm going to paint over in a later step, and I feel like this matches the desk a whole lot better than what it came with. Going to put those screws through the hole and tighten those knobs down, and next we need to prime this piece. I'm actually going to do 3 layers of this shellac clear primer because I'm going to be applying milk paint on this piece, and I really need to seal up this wood. Shellac is like adding a hard candy coating on top of your project pieces. So it's not going to draw in moisture, and it's just going to seal this piece up in case anybody wants to refinish this piece in the future. The paint's not going to get down into the wood grain and all that. So as that shellac is drying, I'm going to mix up a new mixture here. I'm going to do 2 scoops of artichoke, 2 scoops of basil, and 2 scoops of olive. You can see my mama painting a frame to the left next to me. I did not grow an extra hand. So since I added 6 scoops of the powder, I'm going to add 6 scoops of water. Mix that up well, and I'm going to let it thicken for about 15 minutes. As that's thickening up, I'm going to jump back to my project piece, and I'm going to use this beeswax bar. I do have these available now on my website if y'all are interested. It just truly gives you a very, very easy distressed finish. So I just hit the high points, the corners, some flat areas, probably a little too much of the flat areas looking back on this project. So use it not as much as me, maybe. You got to play around with it. And now we're coming in and adding our gorgeous Sweet Pickins oh my goodness, I cannot. Sweet Pickins milk paint, gorgeous green mixture to our desk. I'm liking this green. I think it is very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and add our first coat, and I'm going to let that dry. I didn't add heat to this piece in between coats because my heat gun's on the other side of my workshop, and it was just hard or inconvenient, I guess. So I let it dry naturally. Here is how our piece is looking after we get that first coat applied. As you can see, I went down underneath the table and painted that area as well, and I also beeswaxed that area. So I went ahead and applied a second coat, and this is that shot, and look at this chipping. Like it was just flaking off in big flakes, and it's flaking off where the wax was. So I just dusted it off a little bit with my hand, and a very large chunk came off on that corner right there. Maybe a little too chippy to some people, but I like a good chippy look. So I'm going to come in next with my sander. I have it all the way turned down to its lowest sanding power with a 320 grit sandpaper on it. I'm going to hit those spots I applied the wax to and around the edges and corners and get everything smoothed out. Now let's seal this piece up. One of my favorite ways to seal over a green milk paint is using Fusion's Antique Wax. I had out some clear wax just in case I needed it, but as long as I worked in small sections, I felt like I didn't need to, erase any of that darker wax back. I just buffed it in well and I love the way it looks. And this product really brings out the depth of the paint and just is one of my favorites, y'all. I know y'all probably get sick of me using it. But here is our very chippy, distressed desk. I love how it came out, y'all. Y'all let me know what you think. Is it too chippy, too distressed? I priced this piece for $119. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Moving on to our next project, I thrifted these quite large, I would say 3 feet tall candle holders. They were spray painted in this bright blue and I had them soaking in a large tub. They were greasy and grimy and just in really bad shape. I paid $5 for this pair. After I gave them a good scrub, I'm going to base layer these in some flat black enamel spray paint. Just one quick spray was enough coverage for this piece. I envisioned these pieces white, like an old world look, I guess. So I'm going to start off with a flour sack. I mixed up about 4 scoops of powder with 4 scoops of water. Let it thicken up like usual. And now you can see that paint has thickened up. And I'm going to start pouncing it on these candle holders. As you might can notice, the paint is kind of pulling apart in some areas. And I don't really know exactly what was causing that. Maybe the spray paint wasn't dry enough and it was separating, but I just kept on going over it and eventually it stuck. So that worked. But this set has a lot of details, little nooks and crannies in it. So I was pushing that paint and sometimes even letting it pull up in those areas. That's just going to add to the age of these pieces. And it did take quite a few coats to get this to the coverage I was looking for. So we're going to get this first coat applied. I did dry these in between coats with my heat gun. And I'll let you see what this is. This is how the first coat's looking. Like the coverage is not great, right? It's very translucent, but coming on with that second and even the third coat, it's still a little translucent. This is after 3 coats, and I was like, I'm done giving these coats. It was good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect when we're creating aged pieces. So now I'm coming in with a baby wipe and I'm putting in a finger workout here. You kind of got to press hard or get it wet and let it sit for a moment, and then it will be easier to wet distress with a baby wipe. And I pulled back some of those high point details before we come in with our Sweet Pickins dark oil wax to seal these up. Now, as you can see, this is a very, very old container. I've probably had this bottle for 3 years. No lie, 2 to 3 years. So this product goes a long ways. I just dump it on my piece and then use a chip brush. I don't mind tossing and working that product into the milk paint. I'll let it sit for about 10 minutes before I come in and wipe off any excess oil. And the difference is just amazing. Like, I much rather have the left side than the right side. But if this isn't your jam, skip over this and just put a clear wax on it. That's it for these candlestick holders. I priced them for $27 a piece. next project is a little corner cabinet. I thrifted at a yard sale for, I believe it was either $8 or $10. This is not glass, it's actually a plastic on the doors, and my plan was to keep the doors, but you'll see in a later step that just doesn't work out. So I need to fill in these screw holes before we move along, and I'm going to use 2-part Bondo. It comes with the cream and then the hardener. You just mix a pea-size amount of the blue hardener. You mix those two together until it makes one solid color, and then you need to work fast. This stuff sets up in about 3 minutes where it becomes unworkable, and it's sandable in about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to get all these holes filled up, top and bottom had these holes, and then I can come in with a 120 grit sandpaper and sand that Bondo flush. I'm also going to go ahead and sand the rest of the cabinet as well. And I sprayed some shellac up there. I didn't show you that step. This is the mixture I'm going with, artichoke and olive, my favorite. And now you may notice the doors are gone. Well, as I was scuffing up the cabinet itself, my sander hit the plastic inserts on the doors and it scratched it. So I had to take the doors off. It was not my game plan. I really like the doors. But no doors look better with doors with scratches all over the inserts. So either way, we are moving on and applying our first coat of this Sweet Pickins milk paint mixture. I'm painting all sides, the back, the little end caps. Here's a cute shot of Roscoe guarding us, I guess, while we're painting. He looked like he was on a mission. We're going to paint the top, the bottom, the inside, everything in this gorgeous green color. I did not use the heat gun again for this project, and I applied 2 good coats. Here's what we're looking like after that first coat. This combo really does have good coverage. Here it is after the second coat, and as you can see, there is no crackle, no chipping, nothing. So what I'm going to do is mist the paint, really work it in, get everything pretty wet, and let it sit up there for a second. My beautiful mama is delivering some packages to my workshop, and Roscoe is excited to see his Mimi. So now the paint has the water has sat on the paint for a little while, and now I'm going to use my heat gun and dry it. I'm going to force dry it, and that did create a little bit of crackle. Not much, but a little bit. So now let's seal up this milk paint. I'm going to use Fusion's Agent Wax again, just wiping it on and then wiping it off with a blue shop towel. I wanted to add some more age, so before that wax had a chance to dry, I'm going to use this Dixie Belle dust. It's pretty much like rubbing on dirt, and I'm going to put it in the corners, creases, just here and there on the piece to age it up just a little bit more. I really, really love how this piece turned out. I can picture it displayed with some gorgeous vintage Santa mugs. Ooh, that would be so beautiful. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I wish I could have had the doors in the final project, but it just won't happen. I priced it for $67. Our last project is this cute little homemade on 3-drawer cubby. It's made out of plywood and it was built very well. I'm going to add some texture. We're going to start off by adding some texture. I have some salt wash and I have some blue pine fusion paint. As you can see, this paint's already thick, but we're going to thicken it up a little bit more to a nice chunky paint. I'm going to remove the drawers and we're going to start pouncing this thick paint mixture on our piece, and that's really going to hide that raw plywood edge that's exposed right here where I'm painting right now. We're going to paint the whole piece this way. I'm not going to go inside the drawers, of course, and I'm not worried about full coverage here. I want some of that white to peek back through, so it will just add another layer to our design. If I have inspired you to try Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, you can find my website link down in my description box below. Milk paint is so fun to play around with, and if you are into the age, rustic, chippy looks, this is how you get those results. So I'm testing out a new mixture here with the Birdie and Cheshire. The Cheshire is the Bestoke brand, and I'm just looking for like a lighter blue-green color. Before coming in and applying that milk paint, I'm going to use my beeswax bar again, and I'm going to hit the corners, the edges, and the little knobs on our little piece. This is where the paint is going to distress back to, so just keep that in mind. I want some of the blue to come back and some of the white to come back. Next, we're going to go right over top of that with a pretty thick layer of the milk paint. I just wanted to apply one coat. You can apply multiple coats over the beeswax bar. That doesn't really matter, but just for the look I'm going for, I just wanted one thick coat. Letting my brush skip over some of that texture we created. I did dry this down with my heat gun. Here is how we're looking once our paint is dry. And now let's come in with a 220 grit sandpaper and distress this piece up. So wherever the paint comes off easily is where that wax was. But I'm going to sand the whole piece, the flat areas everywhere, because I'm going to bring back some of that chunky texture we put on the first layer. And I love this old world look, y'all. It's just so gorgeous layering your paints like this. I'm going to do the same thing to the actual body of the little cubby and get rid of all that sanding dust before we come in and seal up this paint with Fusion Agent Wax. I forgot to tell y'all, I paid $2 for this piece. I found it on the 301 yard sale this past summer. I absolutely love the transformation it has, and I'm going to price it for $27. What do y'all think about this age chippy makeover? And that is all I have for y'all today, my friends. I really hope y'all enjoyed these milk paint makeovers. Y'all let me know what project is your favorite down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Definitely leave a comment. It helps my channel out tremendously. And subscribe if you have not already. I want to welcome our new channel members. Thank y'all so much for signing up. And if you're interested in knowing how to become a channel member, that information is linked down in my description box. Thank y'all. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.